Never let a crisis go to waste. That's a statement we've heard over and over again. And today I want to talk about 5 common crises that the average American is actually going through and what they can do about it. So, the first crisis I want to talk about is the housing crisis. Now, we know houses are extremely expensive. The interest rates are still fairly high, like somewhere like mid 6% to high sixes. That's the average nationally. And it's hard to afford a home now and so many other things around that as well. So, what are the things that the average person can do when it comes to like the housing crisis now? If you have a little bit of money, the one thing you can do to better your situation, if you can, is the first thing I'll recommend is if you can house hack. Now, if you are down on buying a house, instead of going for a single family home, I will recommend you house hack. So basically, what I'm saying is you buy a duplex, right? You rent one and you live in one. So that way, the rent that you're getting from the second unit is actually subsidizing the other unit that you're living in. Sometimes it may cover all of it. Sometimes it may pay a substantial amount of the mortgage, but at least you're not, incurring all the burden of the cost to pay the entire mortgage yourself. So that's the one thing that you can do. Another thing you can also do is get into fractional ownership. So if you can own the home, you can buy a home, at least you want to profit from it somehow, right? You can, put your money somewhere, invest in it. So you have platforms like Arrived and Fundrise. You can definitely invest some money in there. You can start with as little as $100 where you own a piece of rental property. And that way, even if you can afford the home or you can afford to buy a duplex, at least you're putting your money to work where somewhere down the line, you might be able to cash in on it if the property sells or whatever the case might be. So you can check out Arrived and Fundrise. And by the way, they're not sponsors for this video. So I'm just putting out information out there. And if you feel like you need credibility because you don't trust these platforms, I think Arrived is backed by Jeff Bezos. So if you want credibility, there you have it. Another thing you can also do, if you have a house already and you have enough land, because some people have homes and they have like 3 acres, 4 acres, whatever the case might be, you can add an ADU to your property somewhere in the backyard. Now, an ADU is an accessory dwelling unit. It's basically a separate attachment from your house where you can, put in your backyard and put it, rent it out. Right. And I think in Charlotte, where I am, you can have an ADU of up to 1,000 square feet. So that's pretty big. 1,000 square feet, you can get a good 2 bedroom in there, right? Self-sufficient or whatever it is. And you can rent it out. Depending on where you live, you might rent it out for somewhere between $1,200 to maybe $2,000, depending on where you live. So you need to check out with your states. Check with your state, city, county, whatever the case might be, to make sure that ADUs are actually allowed where you reside. So that's another thing that you can do to help subsidize yourself throughout this housing crisis. Now, you can also, if you cannot do the other three, if you can't house hack, or you don't have enough money to buy a duplex and house hack, you don't have, enough money to, do fractional ownership, or you can't have an ADU because you don't own a property, what you can do is take advantage of, the housing situation by becoming the person that go find investment opportunities, and you find investors and you present these opportunities to them. So it's called bird dogging. So you go find the investment opportunities and find investors and say, hey, I got this great opportunity, and your payment is basically a finder's fee. You get a finder's fee for it. Now, this might be a little hard. You might have to put in a little work because a lot of these investors already have people who are doing that. But then again, you never know. You have to put in the work. If it's a great deal, somebody will definitely pay you for it. So that's something that you can definitely try as well. Now, if you're into real estate so much and you don't want to do the work for bird dogging, hey, how about you start your little investment? Start a little property management company. So if you can find 2, 3 people who have properties and say, hey, I want to manage your property, or people who have Airbnbs, and you go out there and manage a property for them. That's another way you can start with no money down. You can start it virtually with a couple $100, sometimes a few dollars. Probably just need a website. Maybe you don't even need a website. You just need a couple of things to get you started. I'm sure under $100 you can start one. Now, of course, you have to put in the work as well, because there's a lot of property management companies out there that you have to compete with. That's why I recommend, if you know somebody, and then you can start with somebody, that way they can hand you their business based on trust, or if you can have some kind of recommendation put in place, that will definitely work for you. Number two, when it comes to crisis, is a debt crisis. Now, the consumer debt in America has gone up. And during the pandemic, people had money. It kind of took a little dive. So now things are getting not too good again. So it's went up again. I think right as of maybe last month, it was like $18 trillion combined of consumer debt in this country. And this is all debt combined. I'm not just talking credit card. I'm talking debt overall, medical, credit card, mortgage, whatever that is, about 18 trillion. So that's a lot. So how can you do to basically take advantage of the crisis? Now, you can do a zero-based budget. Zero-based budget is just a way for you to manage your debt. What does zero-based budget mean? It's basically you making sure that any money you bring in, whether it's income, it's salary, side hustle, whatever it is, you put the dollar to work. Put a dollar to work in the sense of make sure that whatever you assign that dollar to, whether it's expenses, it's car insurance, it's food, it's clothing, whatever it is, at the end of the day, your budget is zero. So you're not working with a deficit. So for example, if you bring in $2,000 a month, you don't want to bring in $2,000 a month and your expenses is $2,200 or $2,300 or $3,000, and then you're working with a deficit. So you want to really look into your budget and balance it out. So at the very least, or worst case scenario, you end up with a zero after you allocate the money that you bring in. So that way you're not owing or you're not stacking up on more debt to put yourself in a really bad position. Or another thing you can also do is negotiate. You can negotiate everything. You can negotiate your credit card payments. You can negotiate sometimes the interest rates. If you have anything in collection, you can negotiate that. Just pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, look, I know I owe you $500 or $1,000 in collection. How about I pay it off with 50% of what I owe? Because one thing you need to understand, when a debt collection company start calling you, it means the company that you owe them already sold the debt to that company. And those collection companies typically buy that debt for like 10 cents on the dollar. I know this because it's something that I got into a little bit years ago. They'll buy it for like 10 cents on the dollar. And if you come in and offer them 40 cents on the dollar to pay it off, they would definitely take it. Now, they're going to play hardball. Be ready for that. But you have to be firm. And eventually they'll take it because they want to flip it. They don't want to sit on that debt and start contacting you over and over and over. And at some point, statute of limitation elapses. Now they can collect legally because it prevents them from doing it. So if they see you coming through and willing to pay them 40% on the dollar, they will definitely take it. Or 40 cents on the dollar, they will definitely take that. Or another thing you can do is try to put your money, if you have a little bit of money, on high yield savings account, right? High yield savings accounts. Now, it's hard to say that because banks typically don't give you high yield savings account unless you have some substantial amount of money. So that might necessarily not really favor you for somebody who has a few $100s to a couple $1,000s. But what you can do is take advantage of cashbacks, right? Look at the credit cards that the companies or the banks are offering. Now, I know we're talking about debt here, and then I'm recommending credit cards again, but you have to understand if you're going to go the credit card route, ensure that or make sure that you have the money to pay, right? So instead of, if you're somebody who buys groceries, of course we all do, like a lot of groceries, gas, spend a lot on gas and other things, right? So instead of using your debit card and paying for it, you apply for these high cashback credit cards. Sometimes you can get 3, 4, 5%, maybe more. I don't know. You have to look it up and do your research. But I know you can get up to 5% cashbacks, especially if you spend a lot on groceries and gas and typical stuff. Then that way, when you swipe the card to pay for those things, you get that cash back. Then you take the money from your checking account and pay up the credit card. So that way you're not stacking up on the debt. That's the way you go about it. But just make sure you have to be disciplined because sometimes people get carried away. So you have to be disciplined on that. So that's something else you can do as well. Number 3, inflation. Now, inflation is something that has been a topic of conversation the last couple of years during the previous administration, even going into this administration. So it's a topic that we're always going to talk about. Now, with inflation comes with a lot of, innovation, and people become really, price conscious. People become expense conscious, if you will. So one thing you can do is for people who do a lot of shopping, right? You may want to take advantage of bulk buying. So go to buy stuff in bulk, paper towels, food, whatever it is, non-perishable food, by the way, because I wouldn't expect you to buy bulk tomatoes, like, tomatoes, because they're going to get bad. But you want bulk purchases, like there's Costco, Sam's Club, there's BJ's, right? Wherever you live, I'm sure there's some kind of the wholesale, chain stores or whatever it is, but I'm sure you can get Costco and Sam's Club in most places in the country. Yeah, you go there and shop there. Now, some people will say, but well, I don't have $50 a year to pay for like a Sam's Club's membership. Well, I'll tell you what, if you go on Groupon, every now and then, just keep checking on Groupon. There's a chance you're going to find a Sam's Club membership for $25. That's how I get my Sam's Club memberships. I've never paid $50 because every couple of months they will have some kind of promotion where they'll buy. I've never bought a Sam's Club uh no membership for over $14. Really, let me say over $15 because they always have something, right? So every time I renew, I go and buy a new one. Like I just buy a new one, and I know they say the promotion is for new customers, but it still works for me. I just buy it and reactivate it, and it works. So that saves long term. If you're somebody who buys a lot, maybe you have a large family, and you can do that, or you can, if it's too much for you, you can come together. You can put a couple of people together, yourself, a family member, a friend, whatever it is. You guys have the same card. One person has a physical card, the other person has the app on their phone. Whatever the case might be, you guys figure that out. But that's the way you can go about it. You buy stuff in bulk. Don't buy stuff, especially stuff that you consume a lot, right? You want to buy them in bulk because it saves you long term. And of course, you also want to, monetize your saving habits. That's another thing to do when it comes to inflation. Sometimes some people have saving habits, but they're sitting on it. You can monetize it. You can share with people. You can do videos on it, whether it's TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, whatever it is, and create some kind of a system that you can monetize and sell for like $10 or $15, $20, whatever it is. You'll be surprised how people will pay for that stuff. So that's something you can also do. Then another thing you can also do is flip. You can flip stuff. Some people have a lot of stuff laying around. I do. I'm sure a bunch of people do. And sometimes I also found out that the things that you think people will not pay for, you'll be surprised that they'll pay for. Like I see garage sales and I see the stuff people buy from garage sales. It amazes me. You would think, just like they say, somebody's trash is somebody else's treasure. You'll be surprised. If you have things you feel like, I'm not using them anymore, sell them, flip them. You have OfferUp, you have Facebook Marketplace. That stuff will go in a heartbeat. That somebody's willing to pay for it. So that is something that you can do. And, and sometimes too, things get hard. You just got to learn. You got to get practical. You got to learn how to fix stuff yourself because with inflation, price, goes up. People become cost sensitive or price sensitive. So you just learn how to fix things. If you're a guy or even a girl, right, you can learn how to fix basic stuff instead of calling a handyman to tighten up the faucet in your kitchen. You do it yourself. That saves money. Right? That is a way for you to save because by the time you get a handyman to come out there, they charge you $100. Meanwhile, you can do that stuff yourself. A lot of times you can do it in under 5 minutes and you save that money. Now, of course, the harder things you pay somebody else to do it, but you just got to be practical. Sometimes I've seen people learn basic handy stuff because they had no choice, especially during the pandemic. They had no choice because it has to get done and the money is not there to pay somebody to do it. So you have to get creative, innovative, and solve it yourself. Now, the fourth crisis I want to talk about is the AI situation with job instability. Now, this is a big one for everybody. Now, this is not going to look too good the way I'm going to say it probably, but it's unfortunate because AI is going to wipe out a lot of white collar jobs. Like if you're in the white collar field, you need to start like looking at your, you got to start looking into something that is going to make you irreplaceable, or you got to look at like what moat or what core advantage do you have, or what can you improve, or what can you upskill on to be, I guess you can say irreplaceable, because I think everybody can be replaceable. So you have to really improvise and see how you can improve in that regard, because I don't know how to tell you that AI is not going to come for you. It will. I think it's going to eliminate a lot of jobs. It's going to create some as well. But the advantage that's going to be there is people who learn all the AI tools, whether it's ChatGPT, it's Midjourney, it's Claude, it's, whatever tools are out, there's a lot of them, right? So pick whatever works for you that is aligned with your field and focus on it and see how you can master it and see how you can be the person to lead. Because a lot of companies actually want to, integrate AI or bring AI into their organization, but they don't know how to. And the ones that are still trying to do it, even though they claim they're doing it, but they're really not doing it, they don't understand what to do. So if you can learn how to lead that transformation, that transition, then you're definitely going to be ahead of the pack, or you're going to buy yourself some time. because then you're going to be the one to train other people and be the one to, bring new ideas to the company. So that's something that I would recommend. Now, if you're somebody that you're just sick of this corporate world in terms of like white collar and you have handy skills or practical skills, maybe you need to look into the more non-corporate or non-tech side of things, because I think non-corporate side and non-tech sides like the plumbers, electricians, they are going to have a longer runway in terms of AI dominating their space, because AI is going to come and wipe out white collar jobs a lot first. Then coming to the blue collar side of things, it's going to take a while. I think it's going to take a lot longer than because the white collar job, we're already seeing it. I mean, Facebook is laying people off. Amazon just cut 14,000 jobs yesterday, and a lot more is coming. So people in the blue collar side are going to be okay for the longer term. And of course, white collar is not going to disappear, but it's going to take a lot of beating. So if you have practical skills, you have some kind of blue collar skills, then maybe you should focus on that and, try to get in that space. Or if you're interested in it, you can get in and start learning right now, because within a couple of months and you shadow somebody, you should be in pretty good shape. Now, let me switch over to the last one that I want to talk about, the fifth one, which is a healthcare cost crisis. Now, this one is it's obvious. It's always going to be there. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Now, how do you go around that? Now, I talked about earlier how you can negotiate your healthcare bill, because a lot of people don't know this. Just to touch on that a little bit. Now, a lot of people don't know that when you have a medical bill, if you can call the billing department at a hospital and ask them, because most hospitals have this program, and this program is funded by the government. It's not like the hospital is paying for it, right? Where if you cannot pay your bills, you can call and negotiate, where they will get you through you have to fill out a form or something and do something about it, where they will reduce the bill, or they can eliminate the bill depending on how much you owe. And I'm saying this because I've done it. I've used it. And somebody told me about this, I want to say 5 years ago, 6 years ago, where I had a bill that I was going to pay out of pocket, and I was going to pay for it. And we were talking, and I think the person called me from the billing department and was trying to tell me about the bill and everything, and said, hey, but if you think you cannot pay this bill, hey, go to the website and pull out this form. And he directed me how to get to it. Fill out this form and talk about your situation and send it in. So I did it, sent it in, and I got a reply back that, hey, okay, the bill has been wiped out. Now, I owed a couple, like, it was under like under $2,000. It wasn't a lot. Well, relatively, it wasn't a lot. So that's when I knew, oh, this actually works, because I've heard it before, but I wasn't sure. So it worked. Now, I've also heard of people who called and negotiated their way down based on the financial situation, because that also works based on your financial situation. So I know I talked about that to help in terms of help with the healthcare costs. But another thing that people do, especially people who have jobs, is taking advantage of the HSA, which is a health savings account, right? Now, sometimes when you apply for a job, I'm sure a lot of people ignore that when you see those paperwork and they talk about HSA and everything. You think, okay, well, that's another avenue they want to basically siphon my money. But you need to look into it, because the HSA is really important for people who, especially people who are predisposed, or people who have a history of some kind of medical condition where they might need, they might be close to healthcare consumption than anything else. You want to take advantage of HSA because a couple of things. HSA, there are three things to it. It is tax deductible. It, it has a tax-free growth. And of course, it's tax-free withdrawal. So what you want to do is you want to fund your HSA, right? You fund it. I think the maximum is like 4,300 for single person, like 8,500 for families or something like that. And then people over 55 get an extra 1,000 that they can contribute to it to be tax free. The secret around this, what I found out is, you want to fund the account, right? You want to put the money in there because, again, it's tax deductible. Then, of course, it grows tax free, right? And you can also withdraw it tax free. So you want to do is fund the account, put money in and to the max, right? Put it to the max. Then when you have medical expenses, hopefully not a lot, pay out of pocket. When you pay out of pocket, keep the receipts. Now, what you do is when you keep those receipts, right, you can take money out of your HSA and reimburse the receipts that you paid out of pocket. right? You can reimburse the receipts that you pay out of pocket. So that way you don't you can write off the medical expenses. And I know you can still write it off during your taxes or whatnot, but a write off from HSA is a lot better than if you just try to write it off as an individual. So that's something that you can do. And also the thing you can do with the HSA as well is, especially if you're stacking it up and you're not using it, you can put it in the market. You can invest it. So it just doesn't sit there. So that way it accrues, right? You have interest, the money grows. So by the time you get to use it for some major medical expense, you can always write it off as tax deductible, have a huge write-off on it. So that's definitely something that you can definitely take advantage of. And I think I don't know if a lot of people, I'm sure a lot of, I think the average person doesn't really take advantage of it, because I was speaking to an HR person a couple years ago, and because I was trying to find out a little bit about what that HSA was, and I was surprised by how many people did not sign up for it based on what she told me. So, because a lot of people did not understand. And also you have to understand HR, somebody will say, but well, HR is supposed to explain it to us. They really don't. Not because they don't care. It's just because they're focused on other things and they expect you to read stuff, because they give you all the information for you to read it. And they're not going to sit there and explain it to you, because as an adult, they expect you to read and get your information on your own. So you definitely, they expect you to know that stuff on your own. Now, for people, if you're people who are more on the preventive side and actually getting sick and going to the hospital side, then you can, you can, the way to beat the healthcare cost in a sense, or minimize it, is, do regular exercise regularly, join community yoga groups, do things, eat right, do things that will minimize your chances of going to the hospital. Now, it's not going to eliminate it, but at least it will take care of some of the basic stuff that are predisposed or that will actually lead you to go to the hospital. So that's definitely something that you can definitely look into. Now, those are the five crises that I think are currently beating up the average American. And those are just my takes on what you can do to actually, try to go about the crisis and make it easier or better for yourself. If you found value in what I just said, hey, just hit the like button and, subscribe to the channel, and I appreciate it.